Hi, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday Night in the Word. I'm Russell Palmer, the moderator for the evening, and let's jump in. But I want to first say that this is a live Bible study, so if you're not familiar with this, be sure to comment below as you hear things that interest you. Be sure to ask us questions. I'll be diving through them as the night goes on, so be sure to check in with us and let us know what you're thinking. Tonight's topic is money, finances. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And we actually put a question out there on Facebook. And the question was related to this was, what would your emotional state be if you were slammed with a $1,000 emergency tomorrow? And okay, I'm going to be real with you guys out there. You all gave me Jesus answers. So the question is in the Bible, all right, what's the right answer to every question? Jesus. You all answered correctly. Congratulations. You all said that you would put your trust in the Lord. That's great. But I want to give credit to a couple people who were real. And Kathy, you were one of those. If you're watching, thank you. Heather, because you guys laid it out. You said anxiety, you would be devastated. And I think the way that the statistics show in America, most people would be right there with you, according to the data. So thank you for your comments, everybody. I really appreciate it. Today we have two newcomers to our live broadcast tonight. So Terry, who do we have with us tonight?
Well, thank you, Russell. Tonight, of course, we have you moderating, and we always appreciate the fact that you're regularly participating with us, and you do a fabulous job, so thank you for that. Our newcomers are Rikki, who is over here to my left. It's nice to see you this evening, Rikki. Hello. And Joye. So, hi, Joye. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully, thank you. So, as Russell had introduced, we are talking about money. Everybody is talking about money. Money is a topic that affects every individual in everyday life. So we hear about it when we're young, and we hear about it as we're growing up. But what I want to know is, what is it about money that drove you, Rikki, what drove you here to want to talk to us about money tonight?
Well, Terry, thank you for asking that. It is definitely something that I have worked with closely in my career. For many years, I worked at a bank, but that didn't stop me from doing everything wrong with money. So my husband, Lee, who is also present but hidden, and myself went through some serious ups and downs before we had this wake-up call that it was like, we must be doing something wrong. And my passion is to just get that word out that there is hope, there is light, there is a better way of handling this. And wouldn't you know it, it would be something to do with God.
Oh, so, it has to do with, this is going to be exciting. So we're going to uncover that. And I'm sure the ups and downs weren't you. It was all related to Lee. Is that correct? I'm just kidding, Lee. Just because you're sitting there, I thought I'd throw that in. Yes, I threw Lee under the bus. As I should. Now, Joye, you also are here because of money, and so why is that? What is it about money that drew you here tonight?
Well, I have been coming here for a little while now, and Rikki started a course here at one point for financial peace that really changed things for me and helped me really look into things from the biblical perspective and how to change my life financially. So I thought it was really important, and I'm really excited to be here because I actually do this Wednesday night in the Word at my job with all of my coworkers every Wednesday morning. Hi, Kat, if you're watching. And it's really cool to be able to have this opportunity to be here with you guys because I get to do it at work, but I don't get to be here. So thank you for having me.
Oh, wonderful. So I look forward to unpacking the story that lies behind that beginning intro. So that's exciting. And Russell, often you're sitting on the sideline moderating, but today you're also heavily vested in this topic. Could you tell everybody why?
Yes, I can. We dragged this big 8-foot table in here so we could all be together to talk about a special topic that is on my heart. And like many of these others here, I have a great testimony to share about previous views of what was the right thing to do with money, and now a revised biblical view of how to operate. And it's not just money, but I will throw wealth out there, because you can be blessed with many different things, and how to give respect back to God is important with what you do and what He's given you, and He's given us everything. So that's really why I'm here. I think I have a good testimony in how my wife and I have turned things around for the good.
Wonderful. All right. So this is good stuff. Now, as we start talking about money, you know what? Everybody, like I said at the intro, is talking about money. So the world and the world view of money is all over the place. So I want to start with Rikki, and just, as you're looking at money and you're thinking about the world and the world talking about money, how does that relate to you, or how did your journey begin, or how do you look at the world in terms of their dialogue about money?
Okay. Well, basically, what a lot of what I saw in my banking career, as well as in my own life, my own personal experience, and I've made tons of mistakes. I saw many people making mistakes. It just starts with the fact that we're released into the world not really knowing where to begin managing this money that all of a sudden we get an income, but what do we do with it? What to do, in what order do we do things? That's a gap that the world will definitely jump in and take advantage of. Marketing is insidious.
Yes.
Keep up with the Joneses, So we go into a lot of debt trying to figure all of that out, and trying to keep up with what marketing and the world and all of us tells us. And eventually we realize that, hey, the world doesn't really care about our well-being after all, or it's just trying to get our money. So then we become jaded. And we don't know where to turn. We don't know where to look.
Yeah. So marketing, geez. You know what? You brought up something that's near and dear to my heart. Certainly, I've been exposed to a lot of marketing, and I'm just amazed at how exacting marketing is becoming. They're listening to me on my phone, making commentary, and the next thing I know is I've got 4 or 5 different things popping up suggesting I need to buy these items. Right up my alley. It's terrible, isn't it? Yeah. What about you, Russell? What do you take from a worldly view, or even what your entry point was, even before Christian? How would you view money from a worldview position?
Well, I want to give another example real quick.
Oh, okay, another example. Very good.
One of the worst worldly examples, and this is actually a test that I went through during the transition to learning how to manage money, is look at how many envelopes you get in the mail that want you to sign up for credit cards and debt, and to get you to sign up for things that you can't afford. But they tell you that you can, because you can just always borrow money. Borrowing money is cheap. Borrow, borrow, borrow. And that's a mindset that is really heavily influenced my life. Even look at today's college debt. I mean, it's just an enormous compounded issue. But I actually pulled some statistics from PushPay. And for those of you who are not familiar with PushPay, PushPay is the giving service that CBC uses. It's one of the largest in the nation for online giving, and they do a lot of research. So just as it relates to world or Americans, I'll just give you 3 little snippets of information. Nearly 1/3 of Americans pay the minimum on their credit card every month. I mean, wow. The number of people age 60 plus with student loan debt quadrupled over the last decade. So there's ways of thinking here. And only 24% of millennials demonstrate basic financial literacy. I can say I've pretty much been in every one of those categories, and that was my situation when I was living in the world point of view.
Well, I'm thankful you covered all the categories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not proud of that. But
I appreciate your honesty about it. Yeah. Have you found yourself in any of those categories, Joy? As we're talking about money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you kind of came into this financial piece. So you took the course, but prior to that, You ran into some of these experiences and some of your views in money. What
Oh,
were they
yeah.
like?
Well, I definitely paid the minimum, and I lived way above my means. You know,
Okay.
I think there's a very big disconnect between money and what I can afford, or people can afford, because we're used to just being able to swipe that card. There's no emotional ties to those cards. It's just, I've got it and I can pay it another day. I've got it and I can pay it another day. And as long as that check keeps coming in or that income keeps coming in, there's really no consequence until there is.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I think that we don't, like Rikki said, we're not really prepared.
Yeah. And then when it comes and you realize, wow, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, our parents give us everything, right? I mean, they provide us our clothes, our food, our, you know, our living space and stuff. So then when we have jobs and we have money, like, okay,
Yeah.
now I've got that and some, you know?
And then the taxes come, and then it's taken away. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's a really good point. All the little hidden things that you aren't expecting as well come into play. That all of a sudden you go, oh, you have to pay for that? Maintenance and repair items that you're not necessarily budgeting or thinking about. You come into these kinds of things. But, you know, the world tells me that that's okay, right? So I'm okay if I go into debt. Even our nation has a fairly substantial debt. So our living is kind of set around this idea that a lot of debt is okay. It's not problematic. And yet it is. It is problematic. I think of my growing up, and money was a regular kind of dialogue that happened. You know, and learning how to handle money without having a real strong biblical view, because I wasn't raised in that, is money became kind of an idol of sorts, because it was something that you strive, and something else I learned is you just never quite have enough. So from a worldly perspective, I can understand, and the people that I related to and talked with regularly would tell you the same thing. They wanted to always pursue, how do I get the next dollar? How do I go after that? What kinds of investments can I make? What kind of job opportunities might I have out there? So that perspective really gets you kind of moving away from your God, and really kind of leans you toward idolizing something that you perhaps should not. So with that being said, a sensitive topic in the church can be money, right? And here we are talking about it. So, you know, I found that sometimes inside the church, it's not a topic that people are fond. And boy, you want to start an emotionally infused dialogue? Let's talk about money. So it always, and often it does not end well. So that's why we're doing it on this side of the camera, is for that reason. But I guess really what I want to ask you guys is, should the church be talking about money? And if so, how should the church be talking about money? And I'll start with you, Rikki.
Well, Terry, yes, absolutely.
So we should be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. so a hearty 2 thumbs up on that. Because again, when we've been through the world's perspective on money, and we become jaded, we hear church talking about money, and then it's shields up. It's very emotional. It's very personal, like everything you just said. I think there's a level of pride that comes into it too, because it's like we don't want to admit that we've made mistakes. Maybe it's a level of embarrassment that, like, we don't want to talk about the fact that I don't want you to know how much or how little I have. I don't want you to know how I've messed it up, or or basically what I'm doing. I don't feel anyone should know about this. But again, that's a dangerous place to be. We need to be open to having these sensitive conversations, because as we grow in our walk, we're called to be good stewards, which is just another word for managers, in every area of our lives, and that's including our finances. So I brought along my handy-dandy concordance, which my father gifted to me many years ago. Thanks, Dad. It got a workout this time around. Do you see? So,
Wow.
yeah, this is just, I wanted to look up every time the Bible references anything to do with money or anything around that topic. So that's how many times. I'm not going to get into this, but I just wanted to use a visual for you. So I'm not going to get that in depth. But
I like the fact that you use green.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of money.
that, exactly. And in fact, I love the fact that Joy's wearing green tonight. Good job. So, but the other thing I'd like to mention is Jesus' parables. 11 out of his 39 parables are based on money and finance. And I actually came across a very interesting article earlier today by a gentleman by the name of Michael Packer. He wrote this back in 2011, and it's called Jesus Talked the Most About ... Money, ? So just an excerpt from it is, what I have discovered recently is that there is definitely a reason why the Bible is full of scriptures about money. People desperately need wisdom when it comes to their personal finances. If I had to pick one word to describe Jesus, it would still be love. But I think Jesus realized more of us would struggle with our spending habits than with loving those around us. I know many people who love everyone unconditionally, but are either barely scraping by while living paycheck to paycheck or are in debt up to their eyeballs. So I think that that's an important topic, and God knows it. And I think the church definitely, this should be a conversation we have.
So that's good. So we should be talking about it. And you mentioned that Jesus, in a lot of his parables, used money as references. Was there any parable that kind of stuck out to you in any of the things you read, or just overall the content of him being there was pretty outstanding to you?
Just the overall, I mean, there are so many that are obvious picks. Probably the best one for me is the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. That is when Jesus talks about the master going away, and he leaves 3 servants. And to the one he gives 10 talents, to the other he gives 5 talents, and then to one he leaves 2 talents. And the one who has 10 goes out and gains 10 more.
Right.
They basically, servants 1 and 2 double their money, but the third one was like, I know you're a tough master. I'm just going to tuck it away.
Yeah.
And he actually got slammed for it. So, and what he was given was taken and given to the one with more, because to the one that's handling, to the one who can handle, do well with much, more will be given.
Yeah.
And so that one is always one that stands out. So.
Yeah, me too. That's one of my favorites, actually, is the one with the talents. It really jumps out. And that one that just buried it, did nothing with it, was called Wicked. Yeah, and the one that did really well with it, doubled, got more. It's kind of interesting, but he definitely did the right thing. And the other one was considered to do wrong in that. Russell, as you think about, and I've had enough dialogue with you, Russell, where I already know your answer on this, but nonetheless, should the church talk about money, and if so, how do you think the church should talk about
Terry.
money? I know
Terry.
this.
And to open this up to the world, God bless you watching right now, because this is dangerous. Dare I suggest that we take the percentage that Jesus talked about money and apply that into the church? That would be interesting. I think it would be beneficial, but I think it's a challenge worth considering, and I think churches should most definitely talk about money, especially leading by example. The church should be doing that. We should be teaching our kids about money and appropriately being good stewards and being overly generous in the best way possible. And there's some things that I think the church has to teach correctly that God gives you everything and everything belongs to God. Yes, we know this, and that teaching on money it's a heart issue. This is not a salvation issue. You're not going to go to hell just because I did not learn well enough how to be a good steward. I was not generous enough. This is not a salvation issue, and I think a lot of people can make it one. It is about a heart issue. You want to give accordingly. Now, with the church's teaching, you see different measurements. You see, I used this in actually our conversation earlier today. Was you have the example of the young rich man who comes to Jesus and wants to know how to get to heaven. What's he got to do? And Jesus tells him, "Hey, you got to sell everything and come follow me." And the guy walks away saying, he was sad. He has his head down because he knew he couldn't do it. He cherished money too much. His heart was too selfish. It was too hard. Then you have the story of Zacchaeus, and he wants to know what he can do, but he actually volunteers with a welcoming heart. That he volunteers saying, "I'm going to give away half of everything. If I've done anything wrong to anybody, I'm going to give them back fourfold." And then God says, or Jesus right there says, you've basically brought peace back into the house. Zacchaeus didn't have to give everything away. His heart was already in the right place. So there's different measurements that the church needs to teach. That it's not all or nothing. There's good stewardship and there's balance, but most definitely should be addressed. And if it's not being addressed in your church, it needs to be brought up to leadership. And say, hey, we've had this conversation too. If our leadership or any leadership in any church is not equipped to talk about a topic that Jesus so warrants so much time of his to, then we need to find people who are equipped to come in and educate our congregation with that, with their gift of money and how to maintain that and how to properly teach it. And I think there are resources out there which we're going to get to later.
Good. Yeah, so that's very interesting. So it did lay on Rikki's heart to the point where she started to engage and at CBC started to talk about money. Mm-hmm. So in fact held a couple different times, if I remember correctly, Financial Peace University here on site. And really had a good dialogue about money. And as I think about it, so I'm already gonna answer you. You think, yes, Joy, we should be talking about money because the church actually did with you. And are you glad they did, or are you just mad at them because they started talking to you about money? I mean, what was your takeaway from everything?
I was really nervous going into it, and then I think it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened. I couldn't stop talking about it to everybody because I was just so hopeful now, and I had direction that I didn't have before, and I think that was really important. I mean, so much so that even, Rikki knows my daughter, who was only 7 at the time, was like even on board with it. Like, it helped me to know how to do it and how God would want me to do it so that I could help my child know how to do it from a very young age, and the importance of, like what you said, Russell, just being generous, having a right heart, and knowing, that you give what you should and what you can. It isn't all or nothing, and it's not always money, although money is the big thing, but you can give in so many ways to so many things, and investing in your church and in your ministry, I think it's important to talk about. Yeah.
Wow. Hope, direction, those are powerful words that you got out of
So is joy.
So joy is absolutely a very powerful thing. So
joy comes in the morning.
Yes, it does.
Before we go on, though, I do want to say one thing that is in regards to money in the church, and that's we see a common theme of give to get. It is a huge issue within churches right now. Give to get, give to get, give to get. I'm going to give more because I expect to get more, get something back. That is completely wrong, unbiblical teaching. We should be giving to give. We should want to give. We should be planning to give. We should be extremely generous. We should want to be blessed with more to then give it away. Not so we can hoard and be selfish. There's a lot of teachers out there that completely think that it's that when you plant a seed, they expect there to be more seed so that I can just feed myself. Well, no, you should plant a seed, and what do you get when you plant a seed? you ask God for the provision of sun and the rain to take care of things too, and then you are blessed with more seeds. It's not a me. It is definitely a softer heart issue of what we see today in the church. When you do hear money being preached about, it is evil. It is pure evil. I mean, we can talk about the spirit of mammon, throughout the Bible, and how it's confused with the love of money, and where the teaching that comes to mind is where your treasure is, your heart will be also, and where we put our money, literally, that is our treasure. That's where our heart will be. So I think a lot of people take that heart issue and put it in the wrong place, or prioritize it in the wrong order.
So fascinating. So you're actually telling me, Russell, that churches are talking about money, but they're not doing it the right way all the time.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that's good to know that. So we would often refer to what you just described as people preaching a prosperity gospel, right?
Yes.
So I can accumulate because God will continue to bless me and bless me. And your point is that it's not meant to be just self-absorbed. Anything that God bestows upon you is meant to be given out. So that's good learning, good insight.
Yeah. With regards to this, I do have some stats too from Pushpay on church giving, if that's okay, if we had just a minute.
You have stats?
I do.
That surprises me.
I know, I'm a numbers guy, what can I say? But as far as religious giving goes, I give just 4 quick points. 32% of all donations go to religious organizations. That's impressive. On average, Christians give 2.5% of their income to churches. 8 out of 10 people who give to churches have 0 credit card debt. I found that was quite interesting. And since 1990, religious giving is down about 50%. So
Wow.
that prosperity preaching ain't really working, y'all. So something's not right.
Yeah. Well, I think you identified what's not right as the heart issue, so that's a really powerful thing. Matthew 6:21 says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will also." So if your heart is not in the right place, you're definitely not going to handle money correctly.
It's true.
Are you? But I'm going to come back to Joy. So here, I had a question for her because she had mentioned that it had effect on her talking about money in church. Hope and direction was given. But the other thing you had said is that your daughter came on board. Now, I want to understand. So you're telling me that it not only impacted you, but it had a profound impact on your daughter?
Yes.
How? What do you mean?
Well, so of course I had to make a budget. And so when I made the budget, I had to, tell her that sometimes I was a big spender, especially for her. Anything she wanted. I mean, the kid had 40 shoes at one point. You know what I mean? Like, that's how bad it was. So I had to start telling her, honey, this is not in the budget. We have a budget now, and this is what we have to do. We have to do things this way. And so she started being like, well, I want a budget. Can I have a budget? So then we found Financial Peace Junior.
Wait, your daughter asked for a budget?
Yes.
That is awesome.
She asked me.
Sorry, I'm just like, now I know why you're here. We're going to be talking later because I have a 2.5-year-old and I need some notes.
Yes,
Okay.
she asked me, she wanted to pay rent, like she wanted to pay for her food, like she wanted to help with this. And we tried all these, like we were thinking of different things, but then I kind of looked to see what would Dave Ramsey say to do about kids, because I was in the process of going through Financial Peace. And then I found Financial Peace Junior, which was just amazing. It's set up like it teaches the kids basically like what we should know, but on their level. Splits it into 3 things, categories, so that you learn generosity. You learn to save. And she just loved doing her chores because now she had purpose. She had goal, and every Sunday she couldn't wait to come to church with her purse because she had her money to give. And she gave more than 10%.
Wow.
She was she split everything exactly 3 ways. And so she was giving 1/3 of her earnings.
Wow.
Yeah. Or she would try to even use her KWAM money and she would buy a friend something, because that is another way of using your money, right? When you have
Excellent,
wealth to give to others.
That's
Okay.
Yeah, I was so
impressive.
proud of her.
Yeah.
So proud of her. I still am, you know. I mean, she's still doing pretty good, you know. There are times, as adults do, that we know we have a little lapse in judgment. But for an 8-year-old, I think, you know, that was really impressive that it was able to affect her as well.
8
Yeah.
years old.
On our YouTube right now, Patricia makes a good comment too regarding the church. She says, I think people should be more aware of how much it costs to actually finance a church and all of its services. God bless you, Patricia. You've hit the nail on the head. That is a really good comment. That's very applicable right now. In fact, with what people give, we're able to be here right now doing this for you with the equipment, the lights, in comfortable AC, you know, thank you, with these nice fancy microphones and an amazing guy like Lee Vetter to help us all do it, you know, so it is all done by, you know, financing the church and hopefully giving a better message. So thank you for that comment.
I actually have something I'd like to spin off of what you just said there a little bit. Because, yeah, it's already been mentioned, tithing, and it's what it is, what it isn't, the perspectives of it. I have no agenda saying this because I'm married to a staff member, you know, but naturally I'm married to a staff member. Sure, I'd love to see staff get paid more and the church mortgage get paid off and more funds for more ministries, and I think we should all want our church to thrive. But that's not why God sets forth tithing, because God doesn't need our money in order to do his will. It's a tangible test of our hearts. Is he truly who we look to for provision? And if we truly believe that, are we thanking him with our first fruits, or are they going elsewhere? Do we believe that 90% of our income with his blessing will go further than 100% without? A financially thriving church is not the ultimate goal, but it is the fruit of a healthy congregation. And that is my passion and my mission to see. That's what I want to see the results of.
That's an interesting point. Does God need our money?
Right.
It's very interesting. Does he really need our, I mean, streets of gold. I mean, like, am I going to be, you know, with a backpack of like gold bricks up to, you know, like Pearly Gates saying, hey, I can do another street for you. You know, no, I mean, like Pearly Gates. I mean, I got a string of pearls here, put that on the gates. You know, I really can't outgive God. I can't. There's no way to do it. To kind of jump off that point, the question has to do with the church is, really, can you rob God? You know, yeah, you can. You can. And actually in Malachi it says, yeah, you can rob God. And the way it says you can rob God is through your tithes and offerings, which was shocking, you know. And also to stem into that, this is the only place I found in the entire Bible. Correct me if I'm wrong, YouTube University who are watching here today. Where is the only place you can test God? It's with the wealth. It's
Test
with
him
your
in
wealth.
this,
He
yep.
actually says to test him. Test him in this. And it's just fascinating. So I mean, I do encourage people to test him. And that's kind of where my testimony took off. I tested him, and boy, did he show up, you know? And I'll just give a quick little story before we jump on to the next topic, where we had started these good principles, but, you know, I was getting paid twice a month. And I worked in a sales commission job at the time, and I was paying the tithe on the commission once a month when I got it. But I was like, you know what? How about we change that rotation to where I pay every week I get paid, which actually, no, I was getting paid every week. So we were waiting once a month to do the tithe for the entire month. So that 1 week, we said, I'm going to do it that following day. I'm going to pay my tithe. So within 2 days of me starting that plan, after I had a long conversation with my wife about it, I got called into the office, and they were like, hey, Russell, you've been doing really good. We just want to thank you for that. We recognize your effort. We want to give you another $500 a month. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Okay. So I go back to my office after we have a little conversation, and I call my wife, and we basically, you know, I leave her a voicemail, and I'm crying in my office, like, you know, God, you just had to do something, you know, to prove me wrong and say that my test, which I did, was going to be in your favor. And I have no doubt that was one of God's ways saying, hey, thanks for giving back to me what I've asked for when I asked for it. And that was just one testimony that just broke us. It broke us down to nothing. And so we just want to continue to live out that story and be faithful to God as soon and as quick as we can, because the heart, what you do with this treasure, the first thing you do with it is going to show what you're honoring. If God gives you everything, what's the first thing you do with what he gives you? Is it going to be pay the light bill? Does the electric company, are they going to bless your finances? Is it going to be your mortgage? Can the bank bless your finances? No. God's the only person that can bless your finances. And so what you do with your money should be to honor him first. And that's about as far as I'm going to go, because we're going to go down a really bad rabbit hole that I don't know if we want to go into right now. But I can just say that I don't think anybody will argue with that point.
Oh, Joy, you wanted to add? Go ahead.
Yes, just kind of off of what Russell said, like God doesn't need our money. Actually, this morning at work, when we were having this topic, that was one of the big comments that I got, was like, God doesn't need my money, you know? And I think that one of the things we talked about is, like you said, it's your heart. It's really figuring out, you know, what your heart is saying, because like my response was, you can't be accountable for what happens with the money once it leaves and it goes to the church, because I think that's an issue that people have. What is being done with my money when I see my pastor wearing, you know, crocodile shoes, or driving a Bentley, or whatever that case is? And I hear that a lot. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Or why do they pass the basket around 7 times? They don't really. But you have to understand that it's not about what happens afterwards, because God will hold whoever, for whatever reason, accountable for those things. You just have to know in your heart what you have to do and what you can do. And that's all that matters with what you do, you know. And like Russell said, you know, you'll be surprised, you know, you test him, and not because you want to, but because you want to give and you want to have it in your heart. And it's just amazing how it'll just break you to your knees when he provides in a way that you weren't expecting, you know.
So since you brought up this testing idea, I think I'll just read from Scripture what that is. Malachi 3:10 says, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty." So he does say it, test me. "And see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will be no room enough to store it." So that's a pretty powerful thing. So as you were unfolding this story, it started with you, Russell. What on earth possessed you to take this leap of faith? Why did you do it?
Well,
what led up to it? I want to know that part of the story.
my wife and I got married. I came in with more debt than she'd ever been used to. So we ended up getting a house, and then we bought a car, and then we're like, something's not quite right here. We should be doing something different. We're going the opposite direction. Our bills were getting bigger and not smaller. So we looked around and said, hey, I've heard of Financial Peace University, this guy who Dave Ramsey, this Christian from the South who has a financial course that's supposed to be biblically based. So we said, all right, we'll take a course. So we started looking around our community for teachers. There was one starting in a few weeks. It was in the summertime because my wife's a teacher, so we started taking this class. And right in the middle of the class, we get smacked. We find out that, we're pregnant. Okay, well, I'm not, she is. And so now on top of this debt, we have a child to pay for. What are we going to do? And so that took us on a course, to take a course, to set ourselves straight. So that's kind of my position of where I was when we decided to start looking into how to better ourselves and be better stewards. It wasn't really so much just how to be generous part. It was like, how do I get out of this hole? Mm-hmm. We had dug ourselves into a hole that, my wife being as good as money as she is, never been in debt. I mean, cash transactions and me, the credit card guy, we had to learn from each other. And so we took this Financial Peace University class to really divulge our sins and our sinful nature of spending.
Ah, very good. So that's an absolutely wonderful segue into the next point. So yes, we do think that the church should talk about money. I agree with you on that we should. Hopefully we can do it in a way that benefits the body. It's important to do so. And we learn that Scripture itself is talking about money. And we see from the concordance and all the little green tabs from Rikki that indeed it is talked about a lot. As you had discussed, the parables are talking about money. So yes, it is something even Jesus was not afraid to talk about and use illustrations. So that's good news. But many of us find us just kind of in that beginning place that you just kind of described, is we're in trouble. We end up with problems, and we didn't handle the money God's way. In fact, we didn't even know that money. We go to church and we talk about love. We don't talk about money. We just didn't know, and as a result, we kind of got stuck in that pattern. So, what do we do? Is there help? How do we end up in these problems? Obviously not doing it God's way, that becomes a struggle. And you kind of identified that you found yourself in that place. And you alluded to it earlier, Rikki, that you were kind of in that place as well. And you have passions for people who are in this place. So kind of unpack a little bit of that for us, your problems and the problems that people might be into.
Yeah. Again, I mentioned that I worked at a bank for many years, and I figured, I work at a bank, I know about money, and that wasn't necessarily the case as far as like how to handle our own. Clearly, my husband, Lee, is self-employed, so his income is not a regular income, and so mine was the regular stable income,
Right.
And so I always felt like a budget was a moving target, so I never really did one, So I was like, okay, well, I know how much I bring in, and Lee brings in kind of like an average, so it was just something where it was like, okay, bust out the credit card. The credit card is our emergency fund, and then we'll, pay it off at the following month with whatever the increase is at the end of the month, that type of thing. So. And that ended up, that worked fine until one day we couldn't, until one day we couldn't pay off that card, until one day there wasn't that month of increase. And so that was kind of when we woke up and we're like, oh, what do we do? And so what I had seen at the bank was that, it didn't matter how much people were making, it was what they were doing with it, because there could be people with large sums of money who were always in the hole, always trying to get by, or people with very little who were doing great. And I was just like, what are we doing wrong? And so when I first started reading the Bible myself as a 17-year-old, I'd go through and I'd read like Proverbs 11:15, where it says, "Whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer, but whoever refuses to shake hands and pledge is safe." So basically, that talks about loans, and
Right.
I thought, oh well, that doesn't apply to life nowadays. Everyone's you have to get a mortgage, you have to go into debt for stuff, but I realized that doesn't have to be the case. I realized that there is a way, if the Bible is right about every other area and applies to every other area of our lives today, why not in this area too? And so that's what led us to looking around and finding Financial Peace University, and I was convicted enough that I was like, Lee and I were going through this process, and it had come around about 10 years previously at Columbus Baptist, and I was like, this needs to come back. And so the first time I taught it here again just a few years ago was the first time Lee and I seriously went through it. And I do have to say that very quickly God righted our direction. And so I can honestly say that right now, because COVID has been a big thing, you know.
Sure.
Had quarantine and COVID hit about, heck, even a year ago, Lee and I would not have been in an okay place. But following the principles as laid out through this course, and just discovering what God's Word has to say about money and putting it in its proper order has given us a ton of peace. And I know Lee can back me up on that. So that's what I want to share. And
so you were at the breaking point.
Yeah.
You and Lee were finally at the point where you couldn't even pay your debt off.
Correct.
So that drove you into this place.
Yeah.
And you're a banker.
Yeah.
How about that? So you're a banker.
Not anymore, I will say.
Okay, you were then. You were a banker
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
And now you read that scripture about going into debt, and yet aren't you doing loans at the bank?
Exactly.
You were, right?
Yeah.
And charging outrageous interest rates on
Selling credit cards and
Selling
everything.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And God convicted me that I needed to make a career change, because how could I teach against that and continue on in what my employer wanted to do? It became a conflict of interest for me.
So you quit banking
I quit banking
because of that.
because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So that's quite a story.
Yeah.
So you were kind of, I'm going to
provided.
jump over to Joye, because I've already got a little taste of your problematic situations. But so
Jump for Joye.
I'm going to jump for Joye. So that's what we're going to do now. And I really want to know, the problems that you had with money. You were kind of alluding to it earlier, but you had really difficult times with money, problems without God, right? So you're without God, you're having money problems. What was that like for you in the midst of that windstorm?
At first, I really didn't notice it. It was like I became so good at moving things around that it looked like I was always okay. I was okay. I was living the life. I was doing things. And then I bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
And then it was a whole different ballgame, because now, even though I thought I was okay, I was like, well, I have a kid and I have a house, and I can't have this taken away, because then where would my kid go? Where would, what would happen at that point? Because now it's about her and her safety and her having a life and all that stuff. And that's when Lee told me that Rikki was doing this. And so I was like, okay. So then I kind of jumped the gun before I was supposed to, and I watched the first lesson before.
Uh-huh.
And that's when it really sunk in. And I came in like, you're not going to be able to help me. Do you remember that, Rikki?
I do.
I was like, I need help yesterday. Like, you need to fix this.
Fix it now.
Because I don't even know how I'm going to get through a budget. Like, I don't have enough. I can't, with what I make and what I do, how did this even happen? And that was like my breaking point, was actually trying to make a budget and saying, how am I making it? Because I'm not making it. I'm making it worse, is what I'm doing. So
All right,
that
so
was
you cheated and you watched the class before it even started.
Just lesson one.
Okay.
I'm an eager learner. I like to prepare.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, but after you watched lesson one, you said, no way. that's it. I'm not doing that. It's not going to work. I need it now, right?
Well, not necessarily like that. I came in thinking, no way this is going to work. Like,
Right.
I didn't know if it was going to work,
Right.
but thinking, like, she's got to show me. Like, you got to
Okay.
show me. Like, I was so eager to get to, like, you know, baby step 5,000 at that point. I was like, I am like way under. I'm like on baby step 0.5, not even 1 at that point, you know? So it was very scary, and it was a slap in the face, a wake-up call. Something's got to give, because if you keep on this direction, you will lose it all. You will, and there's no reason to, because God brought you here, and He'll get you through it if you follow His steps.
Right.
Right. So on class 1 then, they were able to kind of talk you down off the ledge.
Off the ledge,
So
yes.
you're on the ledge, ready to jump,
Yes.
is kind of what you're saying to me. But yet that class really did right away start to and you use that term, I think, baby steps or steps.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, which is putting things succinctly in order. You wanted to go way ahead, but it told you how to slow down and follow process in order to get
Yes.
to that place that you were looking to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good to know.
Yeah, the class is, I will describe it as the biggest humility check you've ever had in your entire life. Well, as in regards to your own wealth, because, come on, nobody wants to admit they're doing something wrong. Nobody wants to say, oh, my way is going to be better than God's way, you know? But when it comes to money, yeah, I was prideful. I was like, and I thought there's no way this guy is legit. I can do math. I can count. I know that this 1 + 1 is 2. And that's what's cool about this course, though, is that it doesn't just take math. It takes the social science in with it. And the social science is saying, here's how to have a conversation with your partner, with your family. Here's what happens when the percentage of people do just math. They end up stopping halfway through. They don't complete things. So this course was a lot about society's views and really saying, hey, when you start here, you'll end here, and the percentage chance that you're going to finish on a higher level and go on to your next step faster is increased by tenfold if you do this first. It's not a 1 + 1 = 2. It's just not that easy. And I had made this comment to Terry before, but this course is also, I mean, Rikki, actually, you went right into this. You know, it's for people who got all the money in the world, who need to tweak their stewardship and their generosity hearts. And it's for the people who, oh my gosh, 1 + 1, and I'm a mom who works 2 jobs, and I have a family at home, a dog to feed, and wait, what's the question again? Oh wait, equals 2. So I'm living paycheck to paycheck. You know, this is for everybody. Everybody can get something out of this course, and that's what I found was unique, because my wife and I, we were completely different. She's a saver, I'm a spender. We operate completely different. You have to analyze who you are as individuals and how you're going to come together to achieve a common goal, and that's what we walked away really with this course more than anything else is how to communicate about money. And then once we learned how to communicate about it, we could actually achieve goals together.
Mm-hmm. So. And you have to come in very open-hearted and open-minded. Yeah. Because like you said, you could easily be like, no way. I can't do that, or I can't do this, but it's not about can't. It's about getting you to the point where you can do it in abundance and even give it to others to enjoy and have abundance for them also. But you have to sometimes hone in first. You got to bring in the reins and be prepared to do the work, you know, because if not, you won't. You got to be open.
Yeah. So pride that is something that grabs at the heart of every one of us at some level. Is again my favorite song is Frank Sinatra, "I Did It My Way." I recite that almost once a day. Is because it just reminds me of the human condition, that we constantly have it we want to do it our way. And that's the only way. And certainly, as you made the comment, I know what 2 + 2 is. I can do simple math. And why would I need any help from anybody else because I'm just fine and I can make this work. And we start to develop an attitude. And earlier, Joy, you talked about something I see all the time, is what I call the shell game, is you keep moving things around and pretend you're okay. So you rob Peter to pay Paul. And you keep doing that back and forth and back and forth and make it happen. And then Rikki, I'm going to bring your point in, which was in the banking industry, you saw that you could have somebody that was of very meager means succeeding at high levels. And you had to ask yourself, well, how on earth does that happen? And yet you could see somebody of very high means playing the shell game and moving things from person to person. Robbing Peter to pay Paul, from one account into another account and flipping it around into another account in order to make sure that you made the necessary adjustments, and you're having to spend all day long on the phone. So I've seen a lot of people in wealthy backgrounds do just that, and they're living right on the edge of their seats. So it just doesn't happen to people that have meager means. It's happening to everybody who vests their life in their money. And when you start getting a perspective, there is hope, isn't there? So when you start to transition out of this, we all can run into problems. We all have issues with pride. We've all put stress on our relationships because of the issues with finances. It happens, and yet a daughter can look up and say, hey, I can learn this too. And then excitement starts to come into play. That is such a cool story. I'm glad you shared that with us, because what a gift if we had our young children, 8 years old, who started at an early age understanding how to do money God's way. What a gift you've just given to your daughter, and what a gift she's going to be able to carry on. I wish I'd known that early on, that I could have been part of that gift to my children when they were young. So good job, Mom. So that's exciting.
Thank you.
Exciting
Thank
news.
you, Rikki,
Yeah.
for getting me there.
Every time you came in and you talked about like, oh, and I did this week, that was so encouraging to me. So yeah.
Before
It keeps me going.
Before we jump on, I just
Yes.
want to give a shout out to Maureen Grove, because she's
Hey.
given us some good comments here, working on her baby step 3 now.
Yeah, Maureen.
Maureen, congratulations on paying off your mortgage as well. She's
Yay!
Yes, she
Good
is.
job.
Yes, she's commenting saying the whole idea about getting out of debt is to be able to bless others by giving and giving back to God, so the gospel can be spread. Thank you, Maureen. We
Yep.
can leave now. No, that was good,
right
Maureen.
on,
Thank you.
So even our pastor and his wife went through Financial Peace University. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. And as a result, they're making application in their own purse. So we all can learn how to do things God's way. So we should be in a set mind of learning and be okay with developing our thoughts God's way. So when we've lost all hope, which we kind of can in the other situation, where things are going to crash, I don't know what to do, and now you're going to your last ditch effort, which in this case led you to these programs, and it transformed the way you handle money. So you're telling me that there is hope, right? That there is hope, and that God can actually heal these things.
Yes,
So really, Rikki, he can?
absolutely.
How?
Yeah, because he's God.
Because he's God. Oh, wow, that's
No, I'm kidding.
straightforward.
I know. And no. But yeah, he can heal this area of our lives too. When we hand it over to him humbly, and just by learning what he actually has to say about this topic. That's where financial peace comes in. That's where it excels. It's basically adulting with money God's way 101. Another part of healthy finance is that tithe. It's getting into perspective. It puts money in its proper place, which is not owning you, but as being a tool to serve him.
Right.
We don't own it. We learn we're just managing it for him. that we're not to desire money ultimately, but wisdom. And the beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord.
Yes.
And when we seek His kingdom first and His righteousness, He will place His calling in our hearts and provide the resources we need to carry it out as we walk the path He sets before us. Because we are the salt and the light to do good in this world with the resources He provides. And we can't do that if we're wrapped up in debt and other things. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
You know, I've gotten so excited about talking about money, I've lost track of time. I apologize to everybody. It's a lot later than I realized. So what I'll do is as we kind of are wrapping up, that there is hope and that God provides. But I still would like to get some final thoughts or comments from each of us. Something, you know, that you'd like to impart to our audience that's watching, who might be in a hopeless feeling situation because they just feel crushed by their finances in the picture right now. What would you want to say to them, Joy? I know that's a loaded question, but
No, it's good. I would say really just put your trust in Him, but really put it in Him. Don't halfway put it in Him and then continue to have anxieties about it. And this is coming from someone who has anxiety. But I've really learned to just say, look, I know that He's in control. I know that if I follow the steps, that He will guide me and help me and always provide. Because no matter what, He will never leave or forsake us in our finances, in any aspect of our life. And so, although it may feel challenging, though it may feel like you are hopeless, just trust the steps, trust Him, pray about it, you know, and just move forward. Move forward, take a step, always keep moving in the right direction, and you'll get there, and you'll start to see it happening and bring you more hope and more hope to help others to see that change in you, which will then help encourage you also, I think.
wonderful. Russell.
In the final comments, I'm going to go down a quick list of 10 financial commandments from a book called Beyond Blessed that I've learned a lot from. So, really quick. Number 1, put God first. Thank you, Joy. She already labeled number 1, so I'll start with number 2 now. All right. Don't worship material things. Number 3, don't use God's name selfishly, such as praying for material things instead of spiritual things. But it's okay to pray for things like food. That's a need, okay? Number 4, be a good steward. Spend wisely, save diligently, and give generously. Number 5, teach your children, please. Number 6, live on a budget. Number 7, live below your means. 8, don't buy now and pay later. This is stealing, basically. Be a good witness. This is going to help your testimony. And number 10, be content. Put to death covetousness, which is idolatry. And don't let someone else tell you how to spend your money. Let God tell you how to spend your money.
Ooh, the top 10. Thank you. That was a nice list.
We'll put those in the comments below.
Okay, very good.
Be sure to check those out, and we'll come back after that.
Yeah. All right, Rikki. Now, you're actually going to, from what I understand, you're going to do Financial Peace University again. Is that true?
It is indeed true. So now, given the current state of New Jersey, we will not be meeting in person. This will be an online course, and it will be kicking off 1 week from tonight. So next Wednesday, starting at 6 p.m., runs for 9 weeks. So it runs from September 23rd through November 18th. It's going to be via Zoom. So basically, it's going to be a bit different from the in-person meetings. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, register definitely well ahead of time. Watch the lessons, and then just one per week. Watch it ahead of the meeting time, and then we discuss online. So that's going to be the difference there. So Yes.
So let me see if I got this right.
Yep.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
This next coming Wednesday.
A week from
Wow,
tonight.
it's coming quick. Okay,
Yeah.
so quick.
Quick.
This next coming Wednesday.
Yes.
And it's at 6 o'clock,
6 o'clock.
and it's going to be online.
Online. When you register, you will get a Zoom invite from me.
How do I register again?
The Financial Peace University post link should be posted on the church website.
Okay.
I posted on Facebook. If you have any questions, you can definitely contact me as well. And I'll get you what you need.
Okay. Okay, so I can find this link on the website. How do I contact you?
I will. My email address is RI, V as in Victor, E, T as in Tom, ER80@gmail.com.
Okay, all right, maybe we can put that up as well, just so people can figure out. So we've all been affected by financial peace. Linda and I have as well been affected and had much discussion that has helped us as well. So that's good, and you have all experienced this help at various different times through this. So we've all found benefit. So that's good. So that's another reason why it's good to offer help to people that find themselves in this situation. So if you're in this situation, you don't know how to get out, start looking at it from God's perspective and see what you can do to get out. So that's good. So thank you for being willing to bring us this to our church body. So that's wonderful.
That's an honor.
Russell.
As we wind down, just want to thank everybody for watching tonight. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like, as I'm going to do right now. Boom! And kick that little bell so you get notified of all the latest videos. I'll close with Steve Jackson's comment. Thank you for watching, Steve. We know that, quote, the love of money is the root of all evil. But I also found out the hard way that the ignorance of money has pretty bad consequences too. I highly recommend Financial Peace. So
That's good.
there's another
That's
endorsement for
good.
Financial Peace. So
Thanks, Steve.
thanks everybody for watching, and let's kind of see you next week. But let's turn back over to Terry for some final closing comments.
Sure, I'll keep it short, and thank you for your patience. Just final announcements is that, again, we have shifted our Friday night service outside to start at 6 p.m. So 6 p.m. is the start time because it's getting dark, and if you're able to make it, we'll be outside and mask-free. If it's bad weather, we will end up indoors with masks. So, and then on Sunday, service at 10 a.m. inside, and that will be with masks. We've seen more and more people coming out, so it's been nice to see your faces, so that's been exciting, and the body is starting to reconnect. So it almost feels like normal or getting closer to it, so that's exciting. And certainly, because we've been talking about money, we certainly want to express our appreciation for you who have diligently been out there supporting the body of Christ. Your support helps you because it teaches you how to contend with money, because it should not be the primary thing in your heart. And it also gives us resources to extend ourselves out into the community to support the mission of telling people the good news, which is about Jesus can rescue you. So we thank you that you've been diligent in that way, and we appreciate that. And with that, let's finally close in a word of prayer, and we'll end this evening. Dear Lord, we're so thankful that you do talk about money in the Scripture, and you point us to the right way to handle the resources that are all given by you. Everything comes from your hand. And Lord, we should acknowledge that you are the good Father that has blessed us with anything at all. Certainly nothing is what we deserve, but everything, the way you unfold it to us. You're such a generous Father. So may we learn to walk and be like our Father. Let the Spirit guide us and direct us, even in our area of finances. And ultimately, may they bring you glory because we've done well by them. And we lift all these things up to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you and good night.